what is iContract? We created this platform probably about 3 to 4 years ago when I was a contractor myself in the banking sector, and it's a product really born out of our own frustration because we find that there's no place for us to go to find the right contracts and find the right opportunity, connect with the right people, and also obtain services in one place. So essentially, if there's not a product like that out there in the market, why don't we just create it? It's actually called iContract. So when you sign up to our platform on iContract, there are two types of users. You either sign up as a contractor or you sign up as talent seekers. And we have our USP is that we have a matching algorithm where the contractor will create a live profile. So everything is about live profile, live data, and live availability. So you will set up your live profile, live data, and live availability, and we will instantly match you with the suitable jobs based on your skill set, your contract seeking criteria, and also your visibility and rating. So we just launched our rating system, which means contractors can build reputation on our platform and invite your clients and colleagues. So we want the contractor to really care about your profile, to be able to have this one portal where you can have all of your data and everything in one place. We also have a professional network. We want to set up professional networking and social universe so contractors can start to have post questions and answers, and also be able to share articles in one place. At the same time, we have a one-stop shop basically for contracting services where you can obtain accounting and tax advisory and also umbrella services from one place. So essentially, it's a product that born out of our own frustration that we find there's not really a marketplace out there to allow contractors to build your reputation, set up your life profile, search for the best contracts suitable for your needs, whether it's from recruiters, from employers, or from other job boards, and also being able to connect with other contractors and recruiters in one place. So we've created it. Basically, what you can actually imagine iContract is that we extract every single elements from different type of network. You think about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional network, but they lack of the matching capacity between the candidates and the talent seekers. And what iContract does is that we extract the professional networking site from LinkedIn. We actually partnered with CV Library and CW Job and Total Job to aggregate all of the contract jobs onto iContract, so you can pretty much cover the entire market into one platform. We take the interactiveness from the job apps, so essentially when there's a match, think about iContract almost like a contractor talent seeker dating site, where a contractor has a live profile and the recruiter and employers can post job and have a live profile as well. When there's a job match, then you can chat with each other straight away. So it's a modern interactive platform where we can connect talents with jobs. And the online marketplace such as Juno and Comics usually only facilitate online to offline recruitment, while iContract is a one portal where we aggregate everything in one place. So we've launched our platform in September 2017, so we're still a fairly young company. And since then, we had over 16,000 contractors signed up, just about 1,000 recruiter and employees signed up. We had over 37,000, actually now it's 40,000 jobs posted on the site so far. 16,000 applications, 6,000 connections, 6,000 messages, and over 1,000 job matches. When I say job matches, this means that contractor apply for the position and either recruiter or employer shortlist them, and then there's a job match and there's interaction on the platform. So some of our journey, we started our development back in 2016. So that was the time that I was still contracting at that point, and it was the idea actually came out of our own frustration, and we started the development in 2016. We launched our platform in 2017. We reached 5,000 users in March 2018, just within half a year. We raised just under 1 million seed funding in June 2018. And then in November 2018, we launched our employer site, which means that not only recruiter can post a job, but the direct employer can start to post a job on the site as well. We had our rating system and payment system implemented this year as well, which means contractor can invite your clients to build a reputation. So basically, we want to build almost like Amazon for contractors, where you can pitch yourself. It's not just about the CV, but also about your reputation, build your life profile on the site. We also have our booking and payment system, which means from the employer point of view, they can have the entire end-to-end recruitment process, from setting up a profile, post a job, search for contractors, all the way to payment processing. And Josh is going to tell you a little bit more about that in his speech later on. We started charging employers from December. So for the first 1.5 years, we wanted to build momentum. It's all about actually getting the contents on the site. We kept the platform completely free, and it will be still free for the contractors. So we start to charge employers in December 2018, and we already made 3 placements actually just in December when we started. In January 2019, we had a milestone development where we formed key partnerships. So we partnered with CD Library and the Stepstone Group, which include Total Jobs, CW Job, JobSite, and City Jobs, to aggregate all of the contract jobs into one place. What we want to provide the contractor is this one portal where you can basically have the coverage of the entire contract market. In 2019, in February 2019, we launched our Pro account for the recruiters, and that's in development at the moment, and we expect this to come out in the market in a few weeks' time. It's a very exciting time for us. And then, as you can see, we're now having our new funding round, so we anticipate to close that towards March 2019. In early 2020, we want to raise a Series A round and go for international expansion. So some of the current company and partners engaged, very exciting, as I said, we only been running for over 1 year. We had Local Water, Adecco, Seedrs actually using our platform, and we partnered with CD Library, CW Job, Total Jobs, and so on to aggregate all the jobs. We also partnered with Sonovate, just for some of you who doesn't know Sonovate. They are a platform where they provide payment system for the recruiters, essentially invoice factoring and payment system. So we integrated with Sonovate to provide this back-end office solution for the recruiter and employees as well. We also had a partnership with Experian. This hasn't been developed yet, so it was on development now. So essentially to allow contractor to vet yourself in advance. So essentially being able to background check even before you get a job. So essentially, this can increase the visibility and reputation of your profile. So you're going to ask, what is the revenue stream for iContract? So at the moment, as I said, for the first 1.5 years, we kept the platform free, so we want to build momentum. Now we have 16,000 contractors, 1,000 recruiters and employers. In December, we started to charge employers the placement fee. So we charge 12% upon successful placement for employers to post the job and source candidates on our site. On the recruiter side, we have a SaaS model. So essentially, it's a subscription fee. We charge £29 to £69, depends on the package that you purchase. Essentially, there's a basic account which is always free for the recruiters, but we will limit the number of applications and limit the number of profile views for the recruiters, and they need to subscribe to get additional access. The third revenue generating will be from service partners. So we partnered with accounting, umbrella, insurance, and mortgage advisory services. So for the contractor account, the basic account is always going to be free, but we will have a service subscription where essentially say if you would like to obtain services through iContract, then we can provide this at a price of £80 on a monthly basis. We will also launch our Contractor Pro account and point system towards mid or end of this year, and that will go very nicely with the mobile app which we have on schedule. So essentially that means that contractors can buy points to do things such as like boosting your profile and do super application, which is application above other applications, so that they can actually be visible to the recruiter and employer first. And then the last part of the revenue generating will be job board and content advertisement. So for all of these jobs that we aggregated from different job boards, we actually get a CPC or CPA when there's a click through our site. So we actually monetize through that as well. And at the same time, we want to build a social universe, which Brandon is going to talk a bit later about that. And with the social universe, that we can launch our advertisement solution, so which means that we can have content adverts on the site. So this is what our revenue projection is going to be in the next 2 years. We can, if anyone who's interested in the financial projections and so on, the financial projection is available on Seedrs in the documentation. But here I just, briefly highlight a few, key points. In 2019, we expect 5 revenue generating streams. The first one is from revenue from employers. So we expect 50 hiring instructions. That means that 50 jobs posted by employers. So success rate is 20%, we assume 20%, so which means that we made 10 successful placements, which is a conservative estimate from our side, especially given that in December we started charging and made 3 placements already. So average placement fee for us is £3,000, so 12%. And this will give us a monthly placement revenue of £30,000, and that equivalent to £360,000 on an annualized basis. The second part is the revenue from the recruiters. So currently we have just over 1,000 recruiter users. We expect that number to actually going to increase to about 3,000 recruiters by end of 2019. The 2,000 is basically our annual average. And we expect 3%, assume 3% of them will subscribe on a conservative basis. So 58 subscribed users, monthly subscription of £30, which is the lower end of our package just to start with. So subscription revenue we expect to be under £2,000. And interestingly is that the revenue from the employers at the beginning is going to contribute a huge chunk of or a significant chunk of our placement, our overall revenue. While the subscription fee from the recruiters at the beginning is going to be slightly smaller, but as the tech platform will scale up and the user number and growth rate starts to accelerate, we actually expect these 2 ratios to actually change. So subscription is going to go up significantly, while the revenue from the employers is going to increase in a good pace as well. Then the revenue from the contractor service package, so currently we have 16,000 contractors. We expect 50,000 contractor users by the end of 2019, and that's based on £4 per user acquisition in terms of marketing cost. So our annual average is 27,000. So we only factored in 1% of the contractor will subscribe into service package. So that gives us a nice subscription revenue of just £10,000 on a monthly basis. Then the fourth element is the revenue from pro account. So as I just mentioned, so the pro account will allow contractors to boost their profile, make additional applications above the daily limit, and also to make super applications above the pile of others. So based on the number of contractor and monthly subscription of £15 on a monthly basis, we expect the subscription revenue of £6,000 on a monthly basis. And then there's the revenue from job board. So number of new contractor users on a monthly basis. At the moment, it's actually we have just over 250 or 300 contractors signing up on a weekly basis. So this number is actually slightly even lower than what it is now. We expect the click per new contractor user is 1 click on the job, and then the click per existing contractor user is 0.2 on a conservative basis. The job boards pay us a CPC of 15 pence per clicks, so therefore we only looked into £1,000 of CPC revenue on a monthly basis in the first year. So you aggregate everything together, we're looking at 50,000 monthly revenue just towards the middle of this year. which our company, at the moment, the burn rate is about 50,000 tons, so we expect to break even already, which is a very good progress for a tech company. So essentially, our vision is that in the first year, 2017, we launched it. We bring it to 15,000 users, 1,000 recruiters, and with all the tractions. And in 2019, we actually want to focus on revenue generating and being able to break even and being able to actually hit profitability. And 2020, then essentially we're looking to triple all of these revenue streams. So the annualized revenue will be $500,000 in 2019 and about 1.8 million in 2020. But the detailed financial projection is all in the projection which you can request on Seedrs. So this is our team. So as a lot of you probably know about me, I'm the CEO and the founder of iContract, and I was in investment banking for about 8 years. And then I became a contractor. So I was in Deutsche Bank and the Super Broker Bank. And then I became a contractor on the trading floor, actually doing structuring and pricing. And that's when basically I came up with this idea because at the time we had a team of 20 pricers who are contractors on the floor, and there was literally no place to establish yourself and make connections and apply for contract jobs, obtain services in one place. And that's kind of how basically the idea of iContract started. We have our CTO, Brendan, who is, he has a PhD from Trinity College, Distributed Computer Science, and he previously, has a long experience of working with tech startups, and previously actually bring 2 companies and brought them to actually exiting stage as well, successfully. He can tell you a bit more about himself, later on. So our COO, Josh Golden, also our recruitment partner. Josh has over 8 years recruitment experience and previously in-house recruiter in Sage. And Paul, who is not here today, he's the co-founder and our advisor. He was previously, 20 years investment banking experience, previously even banker, and also then become a contractor. And that's basically, a few of us who are contractors wanted to come together and create this platform for other contractors to join. And then Oscar, our seed investor, came in 2016, pretty much when we started, putting the very first seed stage investment and basically allow us to nurture ourselves, develop the product, and bring the product to where we are today. So so that's my part of the introduction, and now I'm going to introduce Oscar to talk a bit about the iContract vision.
Thanks, Amanda. My name is Oscar Veldhuijzen. I used to be an institutional investor working for a large investment firm with 20 billion under management and investing in very few companies, 10 to 15. You can imagine the kind of the size of the stage we took the companies. My last investment was a 5 billion investment in Yahoo before it sort of got dismantled. I retired from my professional investment career and manage my own money. This is the only investment I have in the startup. I invested £600,000 in the startup. Now, so why did I invest £600,000 in the startup? Because the opportunity was huge and obvious to me. And I think if I can't explain it in a very simple way, then it would be also very difficult for you to understand it. The way I look at it is that the market is very crowded from a recruiting point of view. There's thousands of recruiters who are inefficient and very expensive, and so I should say inefficient and ineffective, effectively. You've got contractors which are close to 3 million and growing, because people choose to be contracted from a lifestyle point of view, and a lack of loyalty. I mean, in the past you choose a job, often people chose a job for their life, but a lot of people have chosen differently, because the loyalty from the employer side is actually declining on the decline and continues to decline. So there's a lot of benefits for contractors to be a contractor, and irrespective of the tax situation. And we studied other countries where there is no tax benefit, so even if there's no tax advantage, people choose to become contractors for some of the reasons I just mentioned. So I expect that space to grow. So, and then finally, there's lots of companies looking for qualified contractors. I mean, me, for example, I've used a lot of lawyers in the past, also for myself. And then when I, contact very renowned and qualified law firms, I'm not pointing any fingers, but you sometimes are lucky enough to get a good lawyer, and sometimes you don't. And so my whole idea was to be able to go on that website, to go on iContract's platform, and to identify somebody who is very qualified for what I pay. And that's why I was so adamant to push for the whole rating and feedback loop. It's a little bit like when you buy a product on Amazon. I nowadays buy fairly expensive products on Amazon without actually having seen it and having to go to the shop because there's so much feedback. And all of this makes it very interesting because it's all online, and most of our competitors have an offline aspect. So Amanda explained the operational environment which is fairly crowded. There's tens of thousands of recruiters, there's many job boards, there's a LinkedIn, there's all sorts of alternatives, but what we aiming to do is to take the best of all these worlds and actually provide something simple, which is a solution for an employer, for somebody looking for a qualified contractor, to find that person in a very efficient and cheap way. And that is a process which has started, and we are not close to the end process because it actually requires activity and users. And so it's a bit like a snowball effect, where initially it's very hard to get that ball rolling, but once it rolls it gets bigger and bigger, assuming that there's enough snow, it will continue to grow. And so what we've seen, and what makes me enthusiastic about this enterprise, about my investment and iContract platform, is the fact that they've come to a critical number. I think the critical mass is there now in terms of number of contractors. We're looking at 15,000, and then a very, very, very good move has been to actually cooperate and set up the joint ventures with these other job platforms, job boards. And as a result, the number of jobs have gone up to 40,000. So the probability for a contractor to find a proper job has gone up dramatically, and we haven't seen that as of yet being translated into a significant pickup in user activity, but that's something what I expect. I'm very, very enthusiastic about this aspect, and expect a lot more user traction and interaction going forward. But it's always, when you invest in a startup, it's a bit of a stepstone. It doesn't grow like, in a very smooth way. It grows it's sort of, it needs a critical mass, and to get there, it's very difficult, especially when you have limited means to advertise. Advertisement is extremely expensive. So most of the money has gone into coding and into the IT development side. And I think we're at a point now where we have the jobs, and we got the users, where we can actually start to build up all these aspects which are unique and not available in the market, in order to be able to offer these solutions which Amanda has talked about, and where I think the company is well positioned to become very successful. Only time will tell. When I look as an investor at these numbers and assumptions, I think they are way too conservative. It's good to be conservative, but the way I see the growth rate continuing at the moment and taking place, if things are going well, we could see numbers which are far higher than this. But of course, that's just not appropriate to do that at this stage, unless you can actually show a track record where you show the numbers. So that's in short why I invested in iContract. It was born out of a frustration that me as a person looking for advice, whether it be tax advice or legal advice, or somebody who can help me setting up a website, I couldn't identify that person sometimes. I didn't know where to look. For contractors, it was very confusing. And bear in mind, this is a point which I haven't made clear. Most of these job boards, or all of these job boards, are focused on permanent jobs, where there's zero interest for the person looking for a job to update their profile. They just dump their CV and that's it. Once you got the job, you forget about it, and often these CVs are way out of date, so not of great use for employers to look for qualified employers, or employees, I should say. And so, what's so different about the contracting space is that people have a relatively high turnover in terms of jobs they're looking for, and therefore it's in their interest to update the profile. And that's why I'm so excited about this whole rating aspect, because it's in the interest of the contractor to update their profile, which makes it actually far more effective for a employer to go on there and to see if the contractor is qualified enough, or whether the contractor meets the criteria he or she is looking for. Again, this takes time, and we are at the early stages, and I think Amanda and the team has done a phenomenal job to get where we are today, which is not easy considering the limited means they had to spend on marketing. But I'm super excited about the recent developments, and I'm looking forward to see this becoming a huge success. Of course, I'm talking my own book because I'm a large investor in the company. But if you have any questions in terms of, from a strategic point of view, because I'm not involved on a day-to-day basis from an operational side, but I just wanted to share with you what my logic was, why I became a large investor in this company. Any questions?
Have you thought of reaching out career services to business schools? There is a generation of MBAs that have gone frustrated with recruitment that's still in the 20th century, in-house, and career services in the universities in the US or in Europe.
I think in general, people are frustrated with recruiters, okay? They're super expensive, they charge 15 to 20%, and they do F-all, and once it's a little bit like real estate agents. Sorry if there's any real estate agents here in the room. They know very little, they just want to get the job done, they don't look at the interest of the contractor, whether it's a suitable job or not, or whether the contract is suitable for the company. So the recruitment space in itself is hugely inefficient and very ripe for disruption. That excites me. A lot of people have tried, but so far very few, or none, as far as I know, of the companies have succeeded to really disintermediate this space. And I think there's a massive opportunity, especially in the contracting space. As I said, there's something very significantly, distinctively different about the contracting space versus the permanent job market, is that it's in the interest of the contractors to keep their profile live and up to date and build that up. So that's why we've chosen, or they have chosen, and I've invested in this model rather than to try to capture, the whole market. And I think it's also better to be focused and to focus on a niche and do that very, very well. Anything else?
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Just a question. So I went to London Business School a long time ago, and I never thought about contracting, just kind of happened. But knowing, I kind of fell into it. I think it's what you were alluding to before. There's no kind of support, there's no kind of education about how you get into it and who supports you from a tax perspective or law perspective, etc. Have you guys looked at particularly business schools to do some kind of educational program online to tell people the benefits of contracting over perm?
Well, sorry, I'm just going to say something, and then Amanda will, who's the expert here in the house and founder and CEO. The way I look at it, there's an unlimited number of opportunities which arise if we do this well, if they do their job well, and if the platform grows. In terms of data collection, in terms of advertisement, I'm not worried about the number of opportunities there are, and this opportunity which you just mentioned is definitely one of them. But I see far greater opportunities from a monetization point of view. And you know, remember when Facebook came to the market, they had no revenues, but they had something which worked. So if you have a business which works, I have zero concerns about monetization or actually offering different kind of services. But what I also think is very important as a business, previous business analyst, is to stick and to focus on the core business. The moment you start to broaden out too early, and that's why we've also chosen, or why they have chosen to stick to the UK for now, which is not the largest contracting market in the world, is to do it well here before you actually branch out. So it's very important to stay focused and to do it well, and that's why the core functionality and the core competitive advantages need to be focused on before branching out. I think. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think talk about the kind of business school or the educational side. That's the reason a part of our next year or this 2019-2020 tech development is to start a social universe where essentially our social universe is not designed just to ask questions or post pictures and so on, but it's more about knowledge sharing. Because I think contractors need a community, and when I was a contractor, I feel almost you are the subject matter expert, and you need to know about your knowledge in your area. But sometimes you need a community where you can share knowledge and ask questions and so on.
And this is I totally agree with you. Again, London Business School alumni, there are people that are alums that are looking for jobs or quite often offering contracts, and they kind of put it out there. And the questions that come up on the board are, how do you contract? Like, what does this mean?
Yes.
And like, I'm used to like a full-time job, so I just wonder if there's, and I totally agree with you, you need to focus on where you want to begin and expand after that. But I just think that, I would love to have some support.
I think this is the
contract.
I think that's the pain point of a lot of contractors. And being a contractor myself, when I just started as a contractor, I didn't really know where to go, even in terms of accounting and so on. Yeah. And that's the reason we set this up. I mean, one of the package is a contractor service package, and that essentially we're saying that the platform itself will always be free for all the users. So it's like the LinkedIn basic account is free for the users. But if you would like, for example, support on the contracting side from giving some advice to the accountancy and umbrella all the way to
I've already done that
so
all my last 10 years. So I just mean, people coming into the contracting world, I think it's a brilliant proposition.
Yes.
If I'm honest, absolutely brilliant. I wish I'd had that support 10 years ago.
And we want to become this go-to place for contractors, because it's the one difference also that USP of the platform differ us to job board. So for example, you will only go onto job board when you're looking for a job, and then you upload your CV. You probably, how many times actually recruiter call you about a CV which you uploaded 2 to 3 years ago, right? Where iContract is this live platform where it's all about live data, live availability, and we want live chatting. We want contractors to engage in the social universe, in knowledge sharing. That's the reason, for example, we often use say Stack Overflow, for example, for tech professionals, where there's nothing out there which is for business service contractors as a knowledge sharing platform. And then also using the data on the Q&A, that the knowledge sharing that you have on the social universe can strengthen your profile and build the reputation as a contractors too. Then they come back to Oscar's point about allowing employers to identify qualified contractors in an effective manner. And I think the market really needs a place like this.
I think so.
Can I follow up on that? Sorry, I don't want to hijack this by any means, but it's the social universe aspect of it that I'm incredibly interested in from a contracting point of view. And what I'd like to be able to do is bid with other contractors for larger tenders at some point. And if that is a way in which you see this going, I'm in right away, because there's IR35 that every contractor in this room, I imagine, is terribly worried about. If this provides some means of substitutability for contracts, so reciprocal trading for contractors, with some sort of guarantee via this profile build-up that we've talked about, then that would be a fabulous thing to have and a load off every contractor I know's mind. If that's the way you're going to take this, as I say, I'm in the right way.
Yes, so we actually talked about associate builder. I don't know whether you actually, watched our Seedrs video where Brandon talked about this associate builder, because we heard, we are a startup where we actually hear a lot of feedback from users. We talk to users and to get ideas and so on. And we want to set up this associate builder, which means that, contractor can actually build your own team. Form a project team, and actually at the moment we already have so one of the new consultancy company, I think they are originally just 2 contractors worked in one of the banks, and then they want to set up their own consultancy firm, and they came to us and saying that your employer side is fantastic, it's perfect for us to be able to identify other contractors, use the platform as my own almost like CRM system where I know exactly where all of my associates are. And also because of our partnership now with Sonovate on the invoice factoring and payment processing, so essentially we'll take all of the admin work away from the contractors too. So all you need to do is go out and bid for the project. So that is a new initiative. But I think the reason we didn't kind of mention it in the first part of the pitch is because we want to talk about the initial kind of platform first. But that's definitely an area that is very, very interesting.
It's very much from a contractor's point of view that desire, not necessarily an investor's. But I've spoken to a lot of contractors over the past 6 months because of concerns about IR35 and also, to be honest, just to stay as current as possible. Yeah. And everyone wants to take things in that direction.
Yeah.
Everyone wants substitutability, they want to be at less risk from IR35 and also to grow professionally.
Yes.
Because one of the limits of contracting is you're good at what you do, and so that's what you go out and do, and there's the ability to, or the potential to work with other people and broaden your offering is very attractive, certainly from my point of view.
Right, yeah, so that's definitely a feature that we, at the moment, even from just the current feature on the employer side, we have a few contractors who actually use the platform in that capacity already. But what we did is we actually did do a design of a private group. We call it private group or associate builder, which is facilitate exactly what you actually say in terms of building your own associate, being able to then post a job among your own associate or post a job throughout the bigger network, and then being able to actually combine this into your own network. Right. And so I think we have some more time for Q&A a bit afterwards, so I'm just going to pass on to Josh to talk a bit about the sales.
Hi guys, I'm Josh Boulding, the COO and recruitment partner for iContract. Formerly, before iContract, I was a recruiter for just under 8 years. I wasn't one of the horrible ones, I guess. I was a pleasant recruiter, but I always envisioned more. I think I always envision more to the market. We take a lot of stuff away, and we're always just a voice on the end of the phone. But meeting Amanda and discussing iContract in a bit more detail prior to me joining kind of gave me the passion again as to actually embed or implement something into the market which completely changes the whole aspect of recruitment in more of an sort of automating kind of way, if that makes sense. So today, obviously, we're going through sales and marketing, and hopefully I can answer some of your questions which you was asking Oscar, and obviously go through a bit more about how our initial setup is and what we're doing to improve the marketplace, I guess. So our target audience are obviously going to be the contractors and talent seekers. So different sections on our platform. Let's just start with the contractors. Contractors will be allowed to set up live profiles, which obviously includes stuff like the rating system, as Oscar was explaining, and of course allows you to put details such as your biography, locations, work experience, and of course the day rate you're looking for. Obviously we try to keep as live as we can, so you would also be able to sort of list as of when you're looking to start your next role and what your latest period is as well, and if you're currently in a permanent position or looking for a contract, of course, which helps with the talent seekers when they're viewing. So you can then search for talent seekers, and the same way talent seekers can search for your profile. In terms of talent seekers, we've got 2 different types at the moment, which will be the recruiters and of course the direct employers. So this can be seen on the platform via a little E and a little R, obviously standing for a recruiter and employer. Aim of the game is to get both in contact with each other, start a conversation almost, as Amanda said, like a dating website for professional contractors and direct employers and recruiters like this. So for the recruiter side, the subscription model and SaaS model, which Amanda was speaking about on a monthly basis, will range, of course, from the basic version, which will be your unlimited job posts, as we don't want to limit the amount of jobs which the contractors can see, of course. But what we will start limiting is the applications per jobs listed and of course the profile views, just so they can get feel the platform and then obviously upgrade their accounts to get higher limitations. So for example, Pro Plus will range from $29.99, Pro will range from $29.99, and now you have more applications listed, more profile views, and something called open messages, which is very similar to a LinkedIn email, if that makes sense to everyone. If not, then basically something where a connection would not have to be made, and if someone is very much of interest to a position you're hiring, you could send a message straight away. Of course, we then will allocate team members to the specific accounts which have been created, and of course, an overview of the ratings report, so who's rated and who the references are. Pro Plus would offer you everything, but with more limitations on it, so there will be nothing different. Employers. So when the direct employers, I'll start with the pricing. So we're looking at charging 12%, or we have started charging 12%, which is a flat fee. We do cover factoring and everything for the recruiters, but for the contract and direct employers. But signing on, they'll have an option to pick as a recruiter, as a direct hire, fill out their profile, of course, which will then be contract types, industries, so on. And then, adding obviously what it is they tend to look for, and then posting their initial jobs for everyone else to see, I guess, in terms of contractors. So from there, as you can see, that is the position which we'll be hiring. They'll put details about the specific job spec, so then the recruiters, the contractors can see that visibly on the platform. Once an account has been created for a direct employer, we temporarily pause their accounts in order to proactively vet every employer. So for example, go through the credit check stage, make sure that everything has initially been set up. For example, the profile, the biography, what it is they tend to look for. And basically just to give them, make sure they can sell their company in the best way possible, as this will be going out to, of course, government contracts. And of course, everyone will be getting their own account manager, so to speak. So the employer profile will consist of this. So it's very similar to the candidate and of course the recruit profile, which will have the contracts which they posted, bookings, contract search, connections, messages, and of course the industries and their full biography. Posting a job, this is what they will see when they release their initial job. As you can see down the side, that's where they'll type in all the details such as day rate, length, days per week, level of experience, and of course fill out the other necessary information. What you're seeing here is once a job will be posted from the talent seekers, our algorithm works and calculates the best possible matches based on the skill sets which you've mentioned. In terms of the exact split, I'm sure that Brendan was going to go through that with you in a bit more detail as well. But as you can see, it will range from 100% all the way down. It's a never-ending list, subject to the amount of candidates we have for that specific role. But that's basically what they will see. And in terms of the live information like actively seeking, available now, available from, in a rolling contract, that's basically what it will look like from a direct employee's perspective. Contractor search, if they can't find by the recommendation or they don't have a job to specifically post, as they're just sensing out the market, seeing what's out there, they can post something, they can type in a search, marketing manager in London, and again it will display results based on what our applicants brought up on skill sets. That is initially what the contractor profile view would look like. The rating systems, so you can see in a bit more detail. Download a profile, send a message, that's basically what the direct employer will be able to see once viewing an initial candidate profile. application shortlisting and matching. So once an invitation has been sent out or someone has specifically invited themselves to apply for a position, once the connection is made, you will see all your applications based on the dashboard, which is under the application list. You will then be able to view that contractor's profile in more detail by clicking on the face or anywhere around type of CV box, and it will then display their full profile. If you do want to shortlist and download in either PDF or Word version, they would allow them to do that, which will also be in like a resume format as well. And then they can complete the booking, which I'll move on to in a second. So that's what the initial profile download will look like as PDF or Word version. Booking a candidate, as I said, 12% placement fee. If they like the candidate, they've interviewed them, had a chat with them, and they know that everything's going to be going ahead, it then allows them to be able to book that candidate through the platform so they can consider the candidates. Job board partnerships. Go into a bit more detail as to exactly how we've done it. So the main job boards which are here are everyone who we've been able to acquire jobs from in order to boost the number which we have. So we went from 4,000 all the way up to 37,000. I think last week we looked, it's gone up to 40 now, which is great. As well as acquiring all that traffic, what we're trying to do as well is feed out or seed out our current jobs to as many job boards as possible, which would obviously help in terms of the increase in acquiring users. So how we're planning to do that, we've already contacted a number of different platforms, and they're very keen in actually receiving our roles, and there is no initial charge. In return, we'll be seeing their roles back onto us. So it's kind of like help me, help you type of partnership which we've got going on. So that should be in full swing by the end of next week, which will then hopefully allow a rise in users. Marketing. We're actively doing as much as we can as cheaply as possible, of course. So we're using the likes of social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please add us if you already haven't. I'm very, very happy to announce that we're actually going to be live on all the tube stations based around London. There is a list which I'm sure I can send out if any of you are interested in seeing it, but they're going to be live from February 11th, so our iContract logo with obviously more information about us will be public, which will be great. Hopefully allow us to acquire more users that way as well, or direct employers. At least just spread the word, I guess. Of course we're using Google AdWords, but we're really, really relying on personal recommendations, of course. I always find it was the strongest, especially in recruitment. So if any of you guys haven't already shouted iContract to any friends, colleagues, anything like that, we'd massively appreciate it if you was to. So that is the end of me. I'll be passing you on to Brendan, who is the CTO, and he will be able to explain a bit about the tech. Have you guys got any questions at all based on?
We can take some more questions after the session.
Well, thank you for waiting for the most exciting bit of the presentation, talking about the technology. As a quick sort of hands up, who's sort of technically focused here? Okay, so I'll try and keep it super lightweight as well because we're running out of time. But if you want me to go into more details, just shout out and I'll pretend I know the answer quite poorly, I'm sure. So what we're going to do is talk a bit about the past, what we're doing now in the present, and in the future. So all this, as you know, English only has two tenses, grammatically speaking, but the others are aspects of the mood. So we'll go with present and future and not get too worried about it. So past tense, what has iContract been doing in terms of technology itself? We launched in 2017, as Amanda was talking about. Launch, should have used a rocket, but I didn't. So 2017 was what I call a non-MVP, as in it was non-minimal, but also non-maximal. So it was something in between. It was probably more towards the minimal side, but we've got a lot of stuff we want to do and achieve yet. But it certainly wasn't what would be an MVP in the sense of the very basics. So we had a bunch of stuff. Contractors and recruiters were able to engage with the system. posting of contracts and applications, to those contracts by contractors, all there, matching the recommendations algorithm was in there as the initial version, emails were being sent out, notifications were being sent, and connections and messages. It was actually quite a heavyweight MVP if you wanted to use that terminology. So that was good. So then we got to 2018, where we were doing a lot of incremental stuff in many ways. First off, we launched Boolean search. So if you've been on, whatever job site and stuff, there's all this fancy stuff that nobody actually uses unless you're a recruiter, where you can stick in ands and nots and parentheses. All the same stuff you can do in Google search, except nobody uses it either. But we now have that feature. And while I don't think contractors are quite as enthralled by it as they should be, recruiters absolutely love this. So this is really great. So this works for both contractors searching for contracts and recruiters searching for contractors. But it is there and it's been very popular. Now also in 2018 we did a bunch of work on our mobile app. And that didn't get launched in 2018 because we hit some big roadblocks. And we started looking at our architecture, looking at scaling out, because while I said before we didn't build an MVP, there were certainly some shortcuts taken with getting the initial launch version of the platform out. And we are currently addressing those piecemeal, just building in new bits, we'll replace bits when necessary. So in order to get the mobile app out, we started looking at some of those more seriously. However, we also got distracted by internal tooling building, as we are a tech-enabled platform. And one of those things is SimplyPost, and this is an internal app that we use, and it's got an aspect to it that also allows recruiters or employers to get online, and it's all about the cooperation, and almost leaning towards the social aspect of what we want to do with our social universe when that is sort of officially launched. I even put little people hugging in there to make it look really sort of kind of social and interactive. It was lovely. Now another key thing we did was contract data distribution. We give out data to other companies, and that's a distribution of data. So when we have a recruiter or an employer uploading a contract, we will distribute that data to other sources so that that contract will be just more easily accessible. Less interesting for contractors, great for recruiters. Now this is a cut and paste of XML. It's actually live right now. And do you know how you can tell it's so exciting? I put a big exciting lightning bolt on it. So now you know it's really, really good. So moving on, we did some rating stuff. And this sort of, unlike the last piece, which is sort of leaning towards the SimplyPost, leaning towards social stuff and interaction with multi-parties. This to me is the first aspect of our social universe. Now, you all understand, Oscar has talked about ratings, how useful it is. It's such an important thing for contractors to establish their brand, to establish their presence. Because you have to think that when you're building your profile as a contractor, you're not really, massaging your own ego, saying how great you are. You are building a brand. That brand is a service provider. It might happen to be a brand that has the same name that your parents gave you on your christening day or whatever when you were born. It's still a brand, and getting that brand out and socialized is a part of what we want to do with ratings. So increases visibility. Okay, so that stuff was all 2018, and this is currently 2019. We're currently looking at affiliate contracts. So, well, I said before we were distributing our contract data out, we are now ingesting data from other sources. And this is quite important. We pull in like 150,000 contracts, permanent includes permanent contracts a day. We filter that out. So we end up with, between the different sources, about 30,000 to 40,000 sort of qualified contracts any given day. Some of them are dropping off, new ones are coming in. So it's a range, but it is happening. And it's super cool, so I put a big lightning bolt in there as well. So this is what it would look like. So you see results, you get nice brands, and it is also worthy of a lightning bolt. So one of the other things we're currently working on is a payment system. It's slightly washed out, but it looks lovely. I did some of the CSS myself, so I know it's lovely. And this is key to us getting motivation for automated revenue generation and how we get at least initially recruiters and employers to actually start participating with their wallets as well as with their contracts. And this stuff will be going live in about 2 weeks, so it's still in development and it is looking good. We're also fleshing out our internal tools because this is key to our tech-enabled future, and internal tools will just heavily empower what we can do to aid our customers. Okay, so I've just gone through 2 years, give or take, and there's loads of stuff. Some of them even have lightning bolts because of their awesomeness. Now, one thing I would like to point out is that 2 people have worked on that. So my team of developers is 1 chap, and there's me. And when I say that we've gone through, we've built a payment engine, we've put in Boolean search, we've done a whole bunch of stuff with internal tooling. We've done an awful lot for 2 people. Now we did have a person for 3 months who was extra, and so 2 1/4. So it is key to understand that we're making massive progress with 2 people. And if you want to give us money, that'd be great. So what's happening when we go forward and we have a team, a much, much bigger team of, say, I don't know, 5 people. We're going to expand out. We're already in talks with getting more affiliate contracts in. And this is key, and it deserves a lightning bolt. We're doing that. So we haven't yet crossed T's and dotted S's and I's and done other weird things with letters to actually get the data actually sort of tapped, turned on. But we are ready. Our implementation can handle a lot more than the 150 or 160,000 handling now. We're going to pull in a lot more, filter out what we want to keep, present it back to our users. We're also looking, second point, at expanded contract distribution. So I showed you before where we're pushing out this XML part to other sort of affiliated or associated companies with us. We're going to be expanding that out, and we're going to be sort of doing the opposite side of what our affiliates are, and we're sending our data further out than before. We want to finish this mobile app. It has been in development for quite a while, not under constant development, which is the problem, because again, 2 people, a lot of stuff. It's like, I will say, however, that our meetings are way longer because we have 2 developers, and when somebody comes in and says, can you have something ready for next week? There's about 5 minutes of laughing and rolling on the floor, so our meetings are a lot longer, but they tend to be at least in multiples of 5 minutes. So mobile app needs to be finished. We want to work on that. We've already started improving our UX. So you can see here on the left is our current design with the teal sort of color. We want to go to a much lighter, slightly more modern maybe, but much cleaner version. It's harder to see. This is a bit washed out again. But it is a lot nicer. We've got a lot of work done on that, but it is not at a stage ready for launch yet. We want to build more internal tools. We want to keep pushing forward. I was going to talk for quite a bit about what we're going to do there, but I think we're running out of time and I've slightly forgotten what I was going to say. Meanwhile, we will continue with our architectural changes. So I've talked a bit about this. We are using some tooling and technology that I think we would prefer not to be. So we're using a lot of web components, which are great, but we're using them as a structural unit instead of as just very small pieces of code. So we're replacing those when we can with other bits of technology, but we're also scaling out our backend. When I first joined, I think we had 1 server per service, so meaning that we had a microservices architecture. So that 1 server went down, we lost all of that. So we're now running much better. We have multiple servers and multiple services and multiple servers. If 1 server or server goes down, there are others. It's all load balanced. It's lovely. We're going to keep pushing forward with that. Social universe. So I think we spent probably a fair bit of time talking about that. For me, the social universe is key because A, it's going to be really good fun to actually work on and do and build, but also B, it brings people in. It gives motivation for contractors. It's in the case it signifies this is a place where you can go. It satisfies that lady's question about where can I go and ask for help, for sure. But it also should be providing news, should be providing updates, should be providing alerts and connection. And I'm really excited about that. But we don't have that under, it's a future tense then, it's not started yet. Even further out, we wanted, we've been talking about machine learning and NLP and sentiment analysis before, and it's a separate thing. It's sort of more about how we will improve our recommendations and matching. So I think it's really key. I mean, I was talking to a recruiter on the phone one day, and he said, "Look, I'm going to send you an email. It's got a, whatever details in it." And I say, "Oh, that's great. Just make sure it's not a PHP developer role for 20k that has the word junior in it, and it's based in Scotland." And as I was waiting for his email, he's still on the phone, and the email came in to me saying, 23k job in Scotland for a PHP developer. It was striking, the irony and the coincidence of it. So we don't like that. I mean, I personally don't like that. So sentiment analysis, natural language processing on how you describe yourself, we would then use that to actually match you, or brand I should say, against the actual contracts we're getting in. We're already trying to improve that. I know I'm excited as well, with skills experience matching and how we actually build out our understanding of your skills. So we allow you in your profile now to enter in your skills, but we want to actually do a lot more around how we analyze your skills against what you say and what a company does about your job, and actually work out how much of your skills is actually there. And we pull in our ratings, because in our rating system, you invite people to rate you, and one of the things they can rate you on are your skills. And now we can load up your skills and how you describe yourself and want to describe yourself, and how people actually say you could be or do. And really looking forward to see how people gain that, because trying to catch cheaters is going to be great. They should be rewarded if they're caught cheating, because at least they tried. So what's needed? Well, I said we have 2 people, so expand the team would be nice, and we would be filling our skills gap. So one of our skills gap at the moment is that we don't have any of the major data engineering talent. I've done some in the past, and on my own I don't think I would be building a massive AI engine anytime soon, so we need people like that, and we just have so much to do around social universe that the workload is interesting. But we do get a good laugh out of it when people actually ask for things. We're some sort of deadline. But that is me, that is the tech stuff. I hope you've not been too offended by it. Any questions? Great. Stunned by our brilliance, I tell you.
Thank you, Brendan. So we would like to take some questions, if anyone has any questions.
I was going to ask, on Seedrs, the evaluation is 5 million. How is that number?
So we raised a round of Jasmine about 12 months ago, in January, February last year. So our pre-money valuation at that time was 3 million. So we just raised about 970,000, so just under 1 million. So that puts our post-money valuation to 4 million. And we wanted to open this opportunity basically for our users to come in. As you can see, this is actually a smaller round than last round. So this is a very exciting time because of, from the commercial and sales perspective, we get great traction in terms of getting our job number boosted from 4,000 all of a sudden to 40,000. We partner with all of the job boards. We now also started the revenue generating. So in December, we started charging employers, and very quickly we'll start to charge recruiters. So we also want to just give the opportunity for the users to come in actually, for this bridge round. And then the plan is in 2020 we want to raise our Series A, and that's going to be aiming at a valuation of 12 to 15 million. But to answer in terms of the math of itself, that if you're looking at our revenue projection of 2019, which I actually went through it of 5 different revenue streams, we're expecting about $500,000 revenue for this year. So if you think about EBITDA multiple, EBITDA margin of 70%, which usually is quite good for tech company, then you're looking at probably about 300 or 350,000 pounds in terms of EBITDA, and then you use that times 15 times, which is the quite conservative range of the EBITDA multiple for tech company, because tech company, because of the scalability and high profit margin, you usually can have a higher EBITDA multiple, but that basically puts us to a 5 million valuation just on the back of annual calculation. Anything else? I think we went through a very detailed presentation here. So.
What kind of contractor are you targeting mostly for this? High, low paid, what industry, everything?
So we are, our target audience is professional contractors or business service contractors. So what is really differentiating ourselves to, for example, Upwork or people per hour, because we do get this question a lot, is that we are focusing on business service contractors who usually are working on a day rate compared to, for example, the task-based platform that the Upwork and people per hour, the like of that actually provide.
So long term?
So long, usually about 3 month, 6 month project, but we also have like 1 month or 2 month contract as well. So essentially our main target audience at the moment is, I would say about 50–60% of the users is in technology industry, and then the financial service. So financial service, technology, and then we expanded into 14 industries just about half a year ago. So now we cover engineering, pharmaceutical, and and so on. So it's less kind of the industry focused, more about business service contractors as our focus population.
So the reason I ask, I'm a contractor in tech.
Yes.
So if you think about it, it's high skilled, high paid, high demand.
Yeah.
Why do I want a rating like I'm over?
So the rating system is to offer you a chance to basically demonstrate your skill set. It's, for example, like even on Stack Overflow, that you have the Q&A, so you want to actually build your own personal brand, and being able to actually establish your brand and your reputation among the other talent seeker employers. To that, our algorithm itself, so as Brandon actually mentioned, currently our algorithm is actually still very simple. So it just match based on skill set, location, contract rate length, and years of experience. What we want to, of course, this is the area that we always will focus on improving. So what we want to add on is things, for example, like your activities, so the questions you answered, and also your rating and so on. So essentially, the highly rated you are, the more validated your profile is and background is, the higher visible you're going to be on the platform.
I hope you're right, but how did you arrive at people want that? Because to me, it's like I can get a contract in a week. So why do I want to try to please everyone so that they can star me kind of thing? Right?
I think it depends on the market. So initially we had the chicken and egg thing. So we had recruiters actually posting the jobs, and then we attract contractors. So we have 15,000 contractors actually signed up now. Now we have actually a decent size of the contractor where we can go to the companies, so direct employers, to have very unique quality jobs onto the site. And once there's quality jobs onto the site, that's the time I think contractors will be more interested in building up their profile, building up their skills. So it all comes into stages. I think you're right in terms of that initially, a lot of contractors probably wouldn't actually use that features. But as more and more as we actually get market power, as more and more direct hires actually posting on the site, as iContract actually become this go-to place for people to actually search. For example, when you do a Google search, your iContract profile will come up, and they will actually see your iContract profile. That's the place where you want to build your brand and reputation.
And also, I don't think it's for everybody as well. So you will always have a bunch of features on any platform that not 100% of users actually use. So if you go on to other sites, Stack Overflow, whatever, you may not ever have commented. You might just be lurking all the time, which is fine. I think in your case, you're probably experienced enough where you've already got connections, you know people that will be calling you up anyway. And ratings in general can allow others to come into the contracting market with no contracting experience, but still be evaluated, be able to demonstrate their skill set by getting ratings. And they can get themselves rated not as a contractor, but just as a permanent employee in many ways. So it's one of those features where absolutely we will not have 100% of people necessarily wanting to use, but it may get a lot more traction for those who want to use it.
Is that an optional feature?
Oh, absolutely.
So if I get a contract through the platform, can they rate me, or do I have to allow for that?
Right now, we have limited in the sense of you only get rated by people you personally invite to rate you. Okay. So you have massive control over it. You can also opt in, even if you do get rated and you don't want to actually show your rating because either you're so good you don't want to make everybody else feel intimidated, or maybe you didn't do something or whatever, but you can turn that off, so you can hide it, it's perfectly fine. So you'll never be forced to have to use it.
Yes.
A more diverse question, diversity of life. One of the sectors that I work in is art. Do you plan to cover the art world as a sector, as a business service provider?
At the moment, we are more focusing on the, I think technology, financial service, and so on, business service sectors. But as I actually just mentioned, it's not about the industry itself, it's more about the contract type. So for example, say, consultancy work, advisory work, or the project managers, and so on, it actually applies to every single industry. So it's very interesting. Initially, we thought that we launched in 3 industries, so financial service and legal and technology, and we thought that every single person on the platform would just be either thinking one or 2 industries. And we end up seeing that there are a lot of people who say I'm a project manager across all 3 industries. Or and that's the reason that we started to widen our horizon essentially to include other industries such as engineering and so on. And then we actually find a lot of users don't really mind which industries. They probably have a favor of 4 or 5 different industries, but I say that, I am a project manager, I'm across all of these. So it's more about my skill set and what my function is rather than which industry I work. So to answer your question, yes, it's definitely an industry that we would want to expand into. I think art is a very interesting industry as well because of, there are other creative platforms, for example, on the market. And when we actually launch into a new industry, we usually would want to look into certain features which would be appealing for that industry. So for example, the visualization of it, the ability to allow you to demonstrate your portfolio and so on. And I think, as actually Oscar previously mentioned, we want to be very focused on what we do essentially first in terms of the matching and the algorithm and also the chatting and the social universe, and then we're looking into every single industry. So if you think about the development itself, it's more like we are focusing on core features, which is live data, profile, contract recommendation, matching, chat, which is the interaction part, and network, which is a feature that no matter which industry you're in, it will be universally applied to all of the industries. So we can actually have business service contractors across all 14 industries, or 15, let's say, if we add art into it. And then we have the resource. Also then, push the revenue, basically start to generate revenue so that we can buy a bigger tech team. So we can actually start to, accelerate the tech as well. Then to look into each industry, say, right, now let's focus on, for example, let's say art industry, what additional features should we actually bring in from just for this community, and for, for example, legal, let's say legal documentation or so on, what's the other features we actually have to build for that part of the platform.
I have a question. This is more product focused. Let's say if you're based in London, but you'll be opening internationally, but you do want to have contracts from abroad, either London-based or the ones you have to actually be placed, let's say, in Dubai for 2 months. The fact that you're based in London is not going to limit you have the option to be open to international contracts as well.
Correct. Now, if we go international, we've got a big problem to deal with how we handle all those different sort of dates and addresses and locations. However, you put in where you want to work. You can put in where you live as well, and you can maybe get an option to maybe contract those through that actually next door. But yes, you specify where you're interested in, and that's what matches you up against.
Just to add on this is really interesting in terms of international expansion, right? So our vision when we created the platform is to create this online platform for professional contractors around the world, because that's where we want to be almost the Uber deliverer for high-end professionals. So where our slogan is, it's your life, make your work. So you don't have to actually be just in London, in the UK, because of the landscape of work in the future of work is changing, and especially young generations or everyone wants to be more mobile, more flexible, and you don't want to sacrifice your career path either throughout the journey. So you can be actually in London for 6 months, in New York for 6 months, in Hong Kong for 6 months, And that's exciting, right? That's what actually makes iContract what basically personally, that's a vision that I'm extremely excited about, and I want to bring this platform to that kind of scale. And I think when we talk about revenue generation and so on and the projection, we were focusing on the current year and next year, but then you can see how, but because we want to actually be focusing on our core, focusing on what we do in the UK first, make sure the product is right, make sure our business model is right, don't start to run before we can walk. But then once the business model is right, then you expand multiple, basically duplicate every single in different country locations, and that's where it becomes a completely different engine. Yes.
So you had a seed round 600K, 1 million round after that.
Yes.
And now you're asking for 150. What's the rationale for that? Is that bridging to the next something?
Yes, that's correct.
Really expensive as well.
So we want to use this round as the bridge round, essentially to get to our Series A round towards the end.
Right, so that's to last you to 2020. So you have some of the funds
We
remaining.
still have the remaining, and also it starts to generate revenue. So essentially, we had £5,000 revenue coming in December.
We're on target for 7,000 this month, and hopefully we're looking to almost stay the same or double on as well. So but we're just trying to build up momentum. But we will get to a point for the projections where we could be bringing in a significant amount each month to stay afloat.
So we want to aim at 50,000, so basically even by summer, and then accelerate to 100,000 towards the end of the year. And this round is really a bridge round where we actually this is a build up to our Series A. Good? No more questions? Great. Oh yes.
I just want to make sure I'm not talking anything, but so as an investor, I look at it, great, you've got all these revenue streams, right? As one of the potential users of the platform, I go like, you said 15%, which is something that recruiters often say is expensive, but you're charging 12% to the employer, plus you're charging recruiters, plus you have this premium model for contractors, so there's like basically charging everybody. And so why aren't you the letting agent that charges it?
Yeah, it's actually interesting question. So one is that in terms of the subscription, the basic account is always free. So we're using a basic freemium kind of models. So especially, and also from the recruiter's point of view, unlike all the job boards, they usually charge based on job posted. Actually, on our side, it's completely free for them to post any of the jobs. So we want to actually keep the volume up. We also want to keep a lot of different jobs for the contractors' benefit. And then we will limit certain functionality and limitation to basically have a Pro and Pro Plus. And also that way, sometimes it's quite interesting psychology actually, where when people actually pay for something, they use it more. So when recruiters actually pay for the Pro and Pro Plus package, they're more likely to actually do having more interactions basically with the contractors. On the contractor side as well, again, the account is always free as a basic account, and on the contractor side, the basic account is pretty much allow you to do probably, I would say 70–80% of what you want to do. So setting a profile, rating, contract search, contract recommendation, chatting, and all of these features is all available, right, on the basic account. And we only charge when, for example, you need additional service. So for example, the service side would include cost, which is staff cost in the providing accounting service and so on. So basically, of course, we need to charge the users for that. On the recruitment side, so usually normally averagely recruiter charge about 15–20%. We charge 12%, and that also includes invoice factoring and payment processing. And usually, I think for people who's not in the recruitment industry might not be aware of it, but usually the invoice factoring means that most of the recruiters would need, so essentially they pay out the contractors first and then they take the payment from employers. So essentially the financing company provide them a loan, and the financing company will charge probably around 3–5%, depends on your size and credibility. So we charge 12% across the board, including invoice factoring, which is actually very attractive for employers.
Which also includes a portal system which allows timesheet allocations for candidates as well. We haven't got that facility And of course, if one client is contracting or has more than one contractor from our platform, everything will go to one invoice for them as well using the same service. So it's just a lot more efficient, I guess.
Right, so there's all these extras.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
15 to
No,
12%.
that 12% includes everything. It's not like you pay 12% and they have to pay another percentage for something else. Everything's sort of all included and boxed up in that.
And also recruiters don't really work for 15%.
No.
Normally it's 20-25. The 15% that you as a recruiting manager, you've managed to negotiate has just effectively screwed you, because now the person you talk on the phone is delegating all the work to the most junior recruiter in the office. So you're actually getting much less service.
I didn't charge for that, less than 20%.
I've had recruiters explicitly tell me, I can work with you for 15%, 17.5%, whatever, but it is below our rate. You will get less people working on this. If you give me the 25%, I'll have a team of like 5 people working on this, and we'll smash out this recruitment process for you. But as soon as you get to 15%, they're like, yeah, well, I'm looking for some guy who annoyed the CEO of the recruitment company who's now in the bad books to actually work this for me, because they won't get their comps, they won't get their commissions. So 15% is like, yeah.
It's at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, because you think you're saving your company money and you're not. You just cost your company more money by not
You
paying
wouldn't send a
25%.
candidate who's worth 20% to someone.
Of course, a recruiter who finds the best, Python developer, whatever, is going for the company that's paying 25% and not touching the 15%. So yes, I mean we are significantly cheaper in terms of the quality you can deliver at 12% compared to the quality you would get at 15% from a recruiter. And that's even harder to find something that actually does 15%.
And that's across the board as well. So subscription packages, for any other, I'm not going to name them, but for bigger search facilities for CVs, you're paying in excess of £350, £400 a month just for one user. And now what they're starting to do is do it all on pay-per-click. So every time you view one CV, even if you view that 3 times the same CV, it will knock off 3 clicks from your daily allowance or monthly allowance. So we're not even a fraction of what the prices actually are. But again, the reason why we want to stay there is because we're not just looking for UK vision. It is a global vision which we're after. So if we can be the best on the market at the cheapest rate, then we will essentially be the same across the globe as well.
And also consider, as a recruiting manager on many occasions, recruiter, contractor, we sat around and discussed these figures, these prices for quite a while. We were happy with 12%, he was pissed off. So we knew 12% was what would work. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Great, all right, thank you very much. If there's any more questions, we can take it after the session.
Thank you for
Thank you very much.
Thank you.